Howdy y'all, Caleb here. Today we're talking about the Troglodon Bomb. The Trog Bomb. I think this is probably one of the more powerful combinations that we're seeing in our new Battle Tome. This specific combination works in Starborn, and it takes advantage of a couple of very unique rules, and it allows us to put a lot of mortal wounds into the enemy turn one. So we're going to take a look at what that list looks like, what the important parts of it, and we'll have some visual representations of deployment and maybe how that plays out in the game. So, for the most important parts of this Trog Bomb list, it comes down to these three abilities. The first one is a heroic action for Starborn that happens at the beginning of the hero phase. This is the spatial translocation. So you pick one Slon, and then you pick another Starborn unit wholly within 12 of that Slon, and you're able to teleport it anywhere on the board outside of 9 inches. A fairly standard teleport, but it happens in the hero phase, and that's pretty big for us because previously our teleports happened in the movement phase, and we weren't able to combo as much stuff. Now that this is happening in the hero phase, at the start of the hero phase even better, we're able to really leverage that to cast some spells. So we're going to be looking to teleport a Troglodon, because of this next ability, Arcane Vassal. What this allows us to do with either the Slon or the Croak is they can pick an Arcane Vassal, a Skink Wizard or Skink Oracle, to cast their spells through. The unique thing about the Skink Oracle is you can do it anywhere on the board. So if a Slon is in the corner and a Troglodon is over on the far corner of the board, you can still cast all your spells through that Troglodon. So the range of your spells counts from the Troglodon. Very, very cool rule. We've had that here for a long time. It's been that way in the last couple books, but we're able to kind of make a unique use of it here with the teleporting of that Troglodon. And then the third key piece of this combo is Celestial Deliverance. This is the spell from Croak, from Lord Croak. It's a spell that you're allowed to cast multiple times. Now, normally you can't cast a spell multiple times, but this one on his War Scroll allows you to do so. The unique thing about this in this new Battle Tome is it doesn't get harder to cast. In the previous book, it got progressively harder to cast every time you could do it. You can only cast it 3 times. There's no rule for that now, so you can use all of Croak's 4 casts on this same spell. And it all has a casting value of 7. They also increase the range 2 inches, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up when you're buffing this thing up. So it has a range of 12 inches, but I'll show you here in a bit. We have a way to make that even bigger. So our 3 important units here are Croak, Lord Croak, Troglodon, and the Astrolith Bearer. The Astrolith Bearer gives an extra 6 inches to the range of spells and a +1 to cast, as well as a 6-up ward save, which is nice to have. So those are your 3 units. You can actually build quite a bit of lists from this. This little combo here is about 800 and some change points. So as you're building your list, you can take 800 points and then kind of build your own flavor from that. My sample list here is we're going to take it in Dracothian's Tail, and we'll talk about that here in a second why. I filled this out with a little bit of a few models to take some control of the board, a nice Bastiladon with Arc of Sotek to kind of round it out to give me an extra little trick here. But you can always maximize more spellcasters in this type of list to give you more summoning points. But I kind of like this one, and I feel like it's a little bit more well-rounded. So let's take a look at this list here. This is my sample list. I think this one would be pretty good. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, so take it for what it's worth. Seraphon, Dracothian's Tail. So in Dracothian's Tail, you can deploy half your army off the board. In this case, I'm going to put some Raptidon Chargers off the board and a Bastiladon off the board. Might put some Skinks off the board depending on what I'm facing, but probably not. We have Lord Croak in our list. We don't have any spells there because he knows the whole spell lore, but he's going to be casting his spell 4 times is what he's going to be doing. We have a Slon Starmaster as my general with command trait Lord of Celestial Resonance. What this does is this allows us to get extra command points, extra summoning points when this Slon casts spells. So that'll be good because as you're casting spells, you're going to be getting summoning points, and this allows you to get 2 summoning points for each spell he casts, and he'll have 3. So, artifact Space Folder's Stave. This allows us to bring in one of our reinforcements outside of 7 inches of the enemy instead of 9. And we'll look at why we do that. And it's very good artifact, but especially for one of the units that we'll be bringing down in it. The spell he's taken is going to be Comet's Call. Yes, Comet's Call has moved to the spell lore. It's not on the Slan's War Scroll anymore, so we want access to that as one of his spells. And Aspect of the Champion, fueled by Gurish Rage, just to keep him alive a little bit longer, has a chance for to come back from the dead, basically. Our Skink Oracle on Troglodon, we're going to take the Sacred Stegodon Helm as the artifact that gives it an extra +1 to save, which is very good to keep this thing alive, as you're going to be throwing it straight into the enemy's faces, and you want to have this thing as tough as possible so it can survive. Spell Cosmic Crush. I'm taking this one just to give me some extra mortal wound. If there is a good target for this, I might cast it. More than likely, with the Skink Oracle, you're going to be casting a Mystic Shield on itself to give it another +1 to save. It starts off with a 4-up. The Stegodon Helm gets it down to a 3-up. And if you cast Mystic Shield on himself, then you'd effectively be down to a 2-up. And you've still got a chance to do Finest Hour or All-Out Defense to theoretically get it to a 1-up. We also have the Source Astrolith Bear to boost everybody's spellcasting and to boost the range on all that. Our battle line are 2 units of Source Guard to protect the Slan and the Lord Croak. 10 Skinks as just one basic screen. 2 units of Raptidon Chargers. A Bastiladon with Arc of Sotek. Chronomatic Cogs, which Chronomatic Cogs is very good because it will allow all your wizards to re-roll their casting if they need it. So, good when you're doing a lot of spell casting. And we get that in 4 drops at $19.95. I've got a Command Entourage to get the extra artifact and a Battle Regiment to lower my drops. So not bad on the drops. You're not going to outdrop a lot of armies, but you will. You're pretty low drop. So you have a good chance at getting some turn priority if you want it. And that will play into how we deploy. So that's the list. We'll look at basically what the lineup or what your battle plan looks like. So at the start of the hero phase, you're going to collect your cosmic power points. That's from Starborn. Those are your summoning points. You'll get 4 because of your wizards and your astrolith. And also at the start of hero phase, you're going to roll 5 dice, and 4 ups are extra command points. That's from Slan and Croak. So you have quite a bit of ways to generate extra command points, in addition to your normal 2 or 3 that you'd be getting in the phase. Then you have your spatial translocation. You're going to teleport your Troglodon, put it outside of 9 inches of your enemy, tagging up as many things within range of your spellcasting through that Troglodon that you can. Because of how we have this lined up, your Lord Croak is going to be casting through the Troglodon for 18 inches away from that Troglodon. We're going to look at a picture here in a second, so you're going to get a lot of range on that. In the hero phase, you're going to cast Chronomatic Cogs with Slan as your first cast. That's going to give everybody else your rerolls. At this point, Slan is going to be a +2 to cast. He's +1 native, and he'll be +1 from the Astrolith Banner Bearer. So he is at +2 right there. Then Slan will cast Celestial Equilibrium for another +1 to cast for all the other wizards. That'll be Croak and the Troglodon, just to give them some extra spell casting power, because you do want that spells to go through from Croak. Then we'll get out Comet's Call, and that will be doing D3 mortal wounds to either D3 or D6 units, depending on what you roll. If you roll a 10+, you'll get D6 units doing D3 mortal wounds. And that's anywhere on the board. Just a fantastic spell. Lord Croak then gets into action, and he'll have 4 casts, all doing Celestial Deliverance. Now, at this point, Croak will be a +4 to cast. He's natively +2 on his War Scroll. He'll be +1 from the Astrolith Banner Bearer, and then +1 from Celestial Equilibrium. So he'll be casting at a 4-up. You're looking for 7s on the casting value. So and you'll get to reroll from the Chronomatic Cog. So a very good chance you'll get these spells off and keep the opponent from dispelling them. If you line up Croak far enough back, the opponent won't even have a chance to dispel him. So that's ideal. So he'll cast that 4 times. You're going to be doing D3 mortal wounds to 3 units within range of the Troglodon with the enhanced distance from the Astrolith. Then after all those have been done, at this point you've done, up to 18 D3 mortal wounds. Not too bad. Not too bad. Depending on how well you roll on those, will kind of depend on if there's anything in the army left. Troglodon can then cast Mystic Shield on himself, or if there's a good target for Cosmic Crush, like a high, a large unit with a very good ward save, that would be a good one to throw this into. Or if not, cast Mystic Shield on himself to give him an extra defensive buff. At this point, your Cosmic Power Points, you could have up to 15 at this point. Because you're getting 2 from each of the Slans castings, and then 1 from each of the Croaks, and then 1 from the Troglodon, you could be up to 15 at this point. Regardless, you should have enough to, at minimum, summon in a unit of Skinks in this first turn. So as you go through your movement and your shooting, you get to the end of movement. You could deploy your Raptidon Chargers. Those would be good to charge into a unit that's on an objective because they get bonus damage there, or just hold some objectives on the flanks and be in play in the next turn. And then we're going to deploy our Bastiladon with Arc of Sotek, and we're going to use the Slan's Stave artifact to deploy him 7 inches outside of the enemy. And now you're going to be able to charge this Bastiladon. You want to get in range so you can do a reroll from the Troglodon if you need to. But charge something that's 7 inches away. Get this Bastiladon stuck in. Do some mortal wounds. It's not going to do a ton of mortal wounds, but it'll do some. More importantly, you're going to have a Bastiladon that has a 2-up save shoved in an enemy's face, and then right behind it, a Troglodon with effectively a 2-up save as well. So 2 big monsters with very tough saves that they're going to have to deal with before they even can start playing the board. And then you can summon 10 Skinks, and generally I'd probably put that in front of the Troglodon. Leave, about an inch in front of the Troglodon if you can. If you have enough room, you should have enough room with your spellcasting to leave an inch in front of it to summon in a screen of Skinks. And that way the Troglodon can be a slight bit safer on the hit back from the enemy. So that's kind of our battle plan there. You can see our deployment. We're gonna pretend this is a Troglodon here. I was fed up with my Troglodon performance in the last Battle Tome, so I used my Troglodon to be a pet for a Mega Gargant. So we're going to pretend this Carnosaur is a Troglodon until I get my Troglodon back on its proper base. And this is just a quick sample deployment. You see a screen with Skinks, our Troglodon there in the middle. We're going to deploy our Croak and our Slan near the backboard. You might put the pyramid either here with the Astrolith or the Slan, or deploy it more aggressively to help block, make sure you don't get alpha charged. The guard are there to protect them. You can see right there, not a whole lot on the board. You don't have a lot of board presence with this list. You've got to do damage, and you've got to do it quickly to get rid of the opponent. Here we have our Troglodon has teleported up the board outside of 9 of the enemy. You see our Kotal's Claw army there. And you want to put it where the spells can hit the opponents, wherever they're at. Now we see here this bubble here, and this is a bubble showing basically what the range of the spell casting through the Troglodon can be. So with the Croak's normal spell, 12 inches, and then the Astrolith adding 6 inches, you've got 18 inches off of wherever the Troglodon's sitting at to cast those mortal wounds. You can see here, there's a little bit of a tilted angle, but you can see that you can hit most of the board with that Troglodon. It's 18 inches off the Troglodon is a huge range, and it's going to be very difficult for the opponent to screen out this teleport. Because you can go 9 inches away from them, and then you have 18-inch range. So it's very hard to screen out 9-inch threat off of your screen. And so you should be able to hit all their support pieces. Any important piece that they may not want to get hit with some mortal wounds, you should be able to dump quite a few mortal wounds into that unit. At minimum, into each unit, if you're getting your spells off, you're talking 5 D3 mortal wounds into specific units. Up to, 3 units should be able to be taking 5 D3 mortal wounds in this turn. So look to take out those important pieces. You got to be judicious about this. Don't pour them into Source Warriors because that's not going to be worth your time. You need to take out those support heroes. Take out the core of their army that makes their army function before they have a chance to ramp everything up. So you see those spells are cast there. And then I think on the next slide I had a Troglodon, or not a Troglodon, a Basildon here. You can teleport that, or deploy that Basildon outside of 7, charge it in, and you can summon in your unit of Skinks to screen out your Troglodon. So that's the Troglodon Bomb. Let's go look back at that list there. Has some very good pieces, very, very strong spell casting list. There are going to be some hard counters, I think. If you were to go up against the Mega Gargant list, they're going to laugh off the D3 mortal wounds that you're going to put into these targets because they don't really care. So there are going to be some that are going to be very difficult for this Trog Bomb list to work against. Any units that have spell shrugs, like a Stormcast Dragon list, would be very difficult for this because they're going to shrug off those spell casts. But a lot of other lists, you're going to be able to pick out all of those important heroes and disable their list from the top of turn 1. All right, let me know below in the comments if you have a Trog Bomb list you're taking, or thinking about taking, or thinking about building. Let me know what it is, and we'll see you guys on the next one.